At this time, we are going to bring forward Jeffrey Sigler, Director of Student Enrollment and Management at Medgar Evers College.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. To those gathered, Dr. Crew, to the family of Dean Griffith, Dr. Derrick Griffith. It's with, a little bit of sadness that I stand here, because I would rather have Derrick running the streets with me right now, busting into some high school classrooms and giving people a reason why they can get the kind of education they can receive at Medgar Evers College. And I think all of the strides that we've made as a team since 2014 and beyond Derrick's passing is attributed to the hard work that he put in and the belief in education being able to transform lives. Derrick embodied the mandate that was given to this college 47 years ago to meet the educational and the social needs of this central Brooklyn community and beyond. And for that, I'm thankful that the good Lord allowed me to have a little bit of space, a short time in this brother's life. But for those of you who knew Derrick, and for those of you who have yet to learn his history, I'll leave you with three things that I take away from my experience with Derrick. I call this the Derrick E. Griffith Primer. Bless his heart. Number one, Derrick did not suffer fools gladly. Number two, people who overpromised and underdelivered frustrated and saddened Derrick. And then finally, I appreciate his insatiable appetite for this work, for his belief in youth, and for this belief that higher education was the elevator to the good life. If you take nothing else away from this is what I take away from him, and I will forever hold that close to my heart and continue to do the work that is needed to be done in our communities. Thank you.
And now we will have Cindy Spector, Assistant Director of the Dr. Derrick Griffith CUNY Prep School.
Good afternoon. When asked to share some personal stories about Dr. Griffith, I thought, as I know many of you did, where does one begin? How does one sum up the greatness of an individual's life in a few stories? Therefore, I hope that my words share the essence of Dr. Griffith and what he was to so many of us here, a teacher, a leader, a mentor, and most importantly, a friend. My friend Shannon Taggart recently reminded me of a Griffism, and was just mentioned. Dr. Derrick Griffith used phrases so often we dubbed them Griffisms. We also lovingly referred to him as Griff. He would use phrases like, bless your heart, as punctuation, like, I haven't seen you on campus in ages, bless your heart. Another was his answer to, how you doing, Griff? I'm blessed and highly favored, how are you? Blessed and highly favored, what an answer. When I think about Dr. Griffith's life, that phrase keeps coming to mind. It was so him, a reflection on how he approached everything. He really did feel blessed and highly favored, and he was. Early on, he learned that education was the pathway to a good life. Then he made the resolute choice to use his God-given talents to pursue a life's work where he could pass along that message. CUNY Prep, fittingly renamed the Dr. Derrick Griffith CUNY Prep School in 2015, was born into the arms of Dr. Griffith. He, the leader who often felt like a parent, nurtured every student he saw. Despite his stature, he would command the attention of 100+ teenagers, which we know is not easy. They would sit on the edge of their seats, soaking in his wisdom and grace as he lectured on the values of resilience, reflection, and success, the tenets which continue to drive our school today. 15 days before his death, Griffith and I had brunch. After leaving, we walked the same Brooklyn streets that now will bear his name. I'll never know why I paused that day to tell him how much he meant to me, but I will forever be thankful that I did. I told him how much he changed my life, and that for over 10 years, whenever I question how to address a student's needs, I say, what would Griff do? And I even did it yesterday. So you see, it turns out that we all here today are the ones who are blessed and highly favored. We all grieve the devastating loss of this magnificent man. I pray that he is smiling down at this honor bestowed on him today. And I want to acknowledge Tiavion Martin and Rashawn Granville, who are his living legacy, and recently will graduate CUNY Prep in June of this year and attend Bronx Community College in the fall.
We can all tell the story of Dean Dr. Derrick Griffith, but no one can tell it quite like a Medgar Evers student. And I had an opportunity shortly after Dr. Griffith passed away to meet LaSalle Parkinson, who is a student here at Medgar Evers. And he touched me so because he taught me and told me about how Derrick touched his life in so many ways. And it's only fitting that we ask a student from Medgar Evers to tell us their own personal story and their own personal tribute at this time. So if Mr. Parkinson would please come forward.
I wasn't really prepared for this, but over the 2 years since his passing, I think you have to understand, I met some incredible people in Medgar Evers. I've met some incredible people here. I've been privileged to sit down and talk with Dr. Crew himself, who showed me so much. Dr. Joanne Rowe, Dr. Castro, who are life changers for you. But with no disrespect to any of you great people, nobody was Dr. Derrick Griffith. For the family, I want you to understand, everybody talks about him shaping the minds of young students. He shaped the minds. He saw a student. Every single person he ran across, he saw a student. He saw an opportunity to teach, an opportunity to give you an idea of what men were. And people talk about something that we hear about in the history books. I like to attribute this to him. He was the gold standard of what it was to be a man of color. Because at the end of the day, when I met him, you know, he had a power. Like you said, he had an energy. He would just always be moving. And he was not a big guy. He was not a big guy. And I remember he would snatch me up if he saw me going in a different direction. Listen, come walk with me. And you didn't talk to him and sit down. You talked to him and you walked with him. I remember, and I call him the gold standard because even though he challenged us, and he was in a position that many of us didn't understand on our educational journey, he wasn't done with his education itself. He went through angst to get his doctorate. He made sure that while he was pushing you to further yourself, oh, I'm not done, brother. Bless my heart, I'm going to be done in the end of March, in the end of May. He challenged you. A very quick story. I remember your very first commencement. I remember that. And I was standing in the back. At the time, I was working downstairs with Anthony Fife and DA Services, as well as being a student. And I would always see Dean, and I would come somewhere near him. And I'll never forget this little guy, about 5'7". 5'5", even less. And I'll tell you a funny story. We had a whole bunch of new students coming in. And he saw some students come in, their pants were hanging down. And I'm standing next to Dean, and I'll never forget this. He would break off conversation. We would talk about something, he just stopped up, and he went straight and said, pull your pants up, young man. Now, some of these kids look rough. I was like, well, I might have to stand behind them just to make sure. You know, nothing happened, and all of them turned around and they respected everything he said. And he took that as an opportunity to teach me. I said, well, brother, I said, you going? He said, some of these brothers, some of these young men never had a positive male image in their life, and we have to take the initiative to show them how to be a man. This was the gold standard moment. And there's a million stories I've had, and I feel so privileged to have learned under him, and everything I am, a person who's about to finish his bachelor's and about to go on to my graduate degree, is attributed to him. Because there's many times that I felt the need as an older student, because he didn't just touch younger students. There was times when I came, I don't know if I can make it happen. Brother, you got a future here. You got a future here for our students. You have to keep going. And we're going to make sure we open every door, but you got to walk through them. And this is who Dr. Derrick Griffith was. And every single student here that has been touched by him, every life that has been touched by him, has a story that they can pass on to you. We could just put down letters of just an experience and make up volumes of who he was. So for the family, I want you to understand how many people that you don't even know who we are, but we know your son, we know your father, we know your brother, we know him, because he is us. That's my experience with Dr. Derrick.
That was totally spirit, because I just called him up. I just knew that he had the words to say what needed to be said today. And at this time, before we present to the family, we'd like to have John Mogalescu, the Senior University Dean for Academic Affairs, the Dean of the School of Professional Studies here at CUNY.
Good afternoon. Such an emotional moment for a lot of us. I want to thank the council member for doing this. It's an incredible tribute to Derrick, and we're so very appreciative. And to President Cruz, similarly, for the Medgar Evers family to be here today to honor Derrick is an amazing tribute. I want to say just a word to Carlia and Darius. I knew Derrick from the day he started at CUNY. He never stopped talking about the both of you. He loved you dearly, and you were foremost in all of the things that he did, and it's so good to see you here today, and hope that this tribute will bring back the most positive of memories. In 2002, we had a plan to open a school for out-of-school youth in the Bronx, and we were interviewing for a principal, and we really didn't know what we were doing. We had a concept, but we had a bit of a plan, and the interview process started, and in walked this, and the personality characteristics that so many of the speakers have captured were right in evidence. This 5'5" young man with dreadlocks and energy and spirit walked in the door, and within 10 minutes, despite the fact that he was 29 years old, it was apparent to me and the rest of our team who was interviewing that we had our principal. And we hired Derrick with the sense that he was a special person, and what turned out to be was we were right. The first year of CUNY Prep was really hard, and I think Cindy can affirm that. We were catching up. We had never run a school. We were trying hard. We had incidents. We had fights. We had students who didn't respect each other, and we had a principal who was willing to self-reflect and to say, it is on me and our team to do better. And that is what Derrick did. I remember endless conversations about how do we make this school better. By the following year, that turnaround had begun. And within the framework of a period of 2 or 3 years, the school was transformed to a place that is a true oasis in the Bronx, that attracts kids who have been discarded, who had dropped out of the public school system, who never felt they were going to have a chance to come back to school. And Derrick was the leader of that team that created the environment that was so very special. Derrick's view about the school was that getting the students a high school equivalency diploma was just a start. That most importantly was to get them to go to college and to succeed in college. And that was his relentless message to students. And if you went into the school and you watched Derrick interact with the students, and again, some of that was captured by some of the prior speakers, he didn't have to raise his voice. He just had something about him that demanded respect. And whether to take your hat off, or we're not going to talk to each other this way, in a way that was both reassuring and respectful. And we created, and he created, a school that is a true gem within this city. When we had trouble about funding, and we did, because we were funded the first years through special money, he organized everybody to go down to City Hall, to speak to legislators, and finally we were able to get the city to baseline the budget for the school, where we are a permanent entity up in the Bronx. And for those who haven't seen it, it's an amazing place. And then, of course, he came to Medgar and had that same energy and spirit that he had at CUNY Prep. So, in my life, and I've been at CUNY for 45 years, I've done a lot of interesting things. He is a unique person, smart, spirited, committed, honest, to a fault, in fact, and absolutely a true believer in the potential of the young people that were part of his community. So this is an amazing tribute to Derrick, to his family. I am honored to be here in your presence today. I live in Brooklyn. I've lived here my whole life, and I can't imagine coming by this street and not feeling, just kind of welled up in my heart at having Derrick's name on a street. So I thank you again. It's a wonderful day.
The tributes have been so powerful and so beautiful, and this is how we keep our history and our legacy alive. We have a history of being a people of an oral tradition, and that's so important that we keep this intact. But as well, here in America, it's so important that we continue to recognize that there are so many streets in New York City, there are so many sculptures that do not tell the history and the contributions of people of color. And it has been part of the work that I do to make sure and maintain that we tell an equal and balanced story here in Brooklyn, New York, and the city of New York. So you will be seeing many more tributes, because I want to make sure that when we walk down the streets, we see reflections of ourselves and our history and our culture and who we are and what we have contributed. And at this time, I'd like to bring the family forward. All of the members that are here today of the family, Carlia and Darius, I want to present you This is for you to take home so that you can share this with your family and your friends. And I want to present this to you on behalf of Medgar Evers College and the city of New York.
Thank you. Bless your heart. Bless you, baby.
That's all I needed today.
Bless your heart.
Thank you. So what we're going to do, I want us all to take a photograph with the sign. This is going to be tight, but we're going to stand here, and you all just crowd behind us, and we're going to take the photo that way.
Long time no see you.
Long time no see. Hey, you in front of the camera. We know. Capture beautiful tone. gather around. We're gonna do this together. Now we have to do this very slowly, but today we are going to unveil this sign that will forever immortalize Dr. Dean Derrick Griffith's legacy to the city of New York and our nation at large.
That's an easy climb.
The celebration will continue at 1637 Bedford Avenue for the unveiling of the Derrick Griffith portrait. Amen? So we need you guys to join us up the block.
Let's go.
You know that's right. You told us.